we have established in a weird word would probably welcome everybody to we are live. Yeah, right. Welcome everybody to the first episode on YouTube for the podcast. We had a little bit of technical difficulties with it since this is our first episode on YouTube. But we are on air and ready to go. And we have an exciting show to talk about today. One of my favorite ones that I enjoyed this year. I watched it guys on Discord. We have no webcam this week, but it's okay. And I can't wait to talk about the show with you guys. And I have my good friend, been a guest many times by now, to join me today, Tim, aka Aggrobacon. Hello, friend. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
I am good. So, we've technically done like 2 intros now. This is the third one. So, since we are on air, and as a Republic, do you want to give a little introduction? I think we both should, since it's the first time on YouTube, just who we are, and then go into the show. So, who are you?
Yes. I am Aggrobacon, aka Tim TK. I am the associate editor at Silverline Comics and the writer-creator of the comic Wolf Hunter, which will be available for purchase later this year. And I stream on Twitch under the name Aggrobacon.
And his streams are great. The Silverline podcast is great. I'd be putting shoutouts for all this stuff, but I do not have the whole YouTube system figured out yet, as evident. But
Yes.
But that'll be figured out. So in the future there'll be shoutouts in the chat for my wonderful guests. And for now, we will just do multiple shoutouts, which we normally do anyway. A little bit about myself to share who I am. My name is, I go by Van, and I started a podcast about a year ago. I used to stream on Twitch, but thought that a podcast might be better. Few people said I had a good voice for radio. They thought I always wanted to do a podcast. So about a year ago, I thought, might as well try it out. I started to do it on Twitch. I had a great time, met amazing people. We've had amazing guests on the show. I love seeing people connecting through the show. Like, for example, someone you went to school with, Tim, joined us recently, was great. Person I'm not going to say the name out of respect, even though we got that kind of public last week, but you know who you are, and we will, yeah, that was fantastic. Just the amount of connections we've all made through this has been amazing in my mind. I'm so grateful to be doing this. So yeah. But today we are talking about Invincible.
Yes.
And I am so excited.
I am as well.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk about this. I loved this when I first saw it, which honestly surprised me because I never really, like, the show is based off of Kirkman's comic, Robert Kirkman. I think most famously known for creating The Walking Dead. And liked the comics. I've read a few, but I never really dove into it. And The Walking Dead eventually did push me away.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that's probably to the point. Funny enough, I heard, and this is the real, I don't know, it kind of spins my brain like the top, that I heard that Disney Plus is going to get all of the Walking Dead seasons sometime this year.
Huh.
Which,
I might try to rewatch it then.
me too.
But that's... What is it? What? I mean, the branding.
Exactly, that's it. Like, Disney does not feel like Disney in the sense I think of Disney anymore. We have Walking Dead.
Yeah.
We have Aliens. We have Predator. Our Disney Plus nest is so Snow White. I'm like,
Yep.
well, that is a different take, different turn. But okay.
Yeah.
But it's smart. It's smart of Disney not to split up their library. I'd watch it.
I mean, if they have service, yeah. I was listening to another podcast, Snacks Daily, and they're talking about how the whole reason why Disney Plus works and why it's priced so the way it is the idea isn't that you're going to sell the streaming service. The streaming service sells their merchandise in their theme parks. So when you have something that was as big as Walking Dead next to, Avengers and whatever, that's just going to drive people to buy Walking Dead merch in addition to their Star Wars Land tickets and their Marvel plushies.
Agreed. Sully still feels like to take over the world, though.
Yeah. I mean, they're for sure like a monopoly or a trust, and I don't know how they're able to operate still, but at least they put up fun content, I guess.
Agreed. But Invincible is not something they own. So.
Nope. Thank God.
Agreed. I know the show would not be how it is under Disney. If they were, but yeah. But the way we normally handle it, when we talk about a show, is we go by characters and kind of go through the plot, kind of in order a bit, but we might hop around a little bit. So, we have made a list of where we're going to go. Focus on big, got the main characters with the supporting cast kind of slide in when it needs to be. So I think the smartest idea with talking about any show is to talk about the protagonist, obviously. So, what do you think of Mark Grayson?
I love him.
I do too.
Yeah, I think this the way it's they handle him is very smart. And how well he portrays essentially a take on a trope, which is normally the kid develops powers and they got to learn how to use them. But it's like, well, he's already expecting this the entire time, so he's very quick to pick it up, and this is something he's been either wanting, not necessarily like the surprise gift or whatever. And the way to develop both that story, his external conflict, as well as his high school drama, I think is all very smart and well done.
I agree. And you mentioned the point of how he picked up his powers quickly, which I really, one of my favorite things when I first started watching the show, right, is how they kind of displayed hero work as well as powers and learning how to use your powers. Because while he does pick it up kind of quickly, he also fails a lot at the beginning. And a lot of people get injured because of it, which I really liked.
Yes.
you felt the weight, I feel, that Mark kind of, like his father, he lives with his mom, and his father, and his father is this alien Superman-like being, their equivalent to Superman. And he's always looked up to his dad as, golden man, wants to save the world, beat up the bad guys, be a hero. And when he gets his powers after he reaches his, when he reaches his maturity and tries to do what his dad does, reality slaps him in the face hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. It's like we watch all these shows, right? And I must say I enjoy the MCU, right? The MCU, I
Yes.
think, is also very guilty of this, of not really showing the harm that people are suffering most of
Yeah,
the time.
it's very much. Yeah, there's a lot of action but no consequences.
Yeah, or like you told, they do not follow the rule of show, don't tell. You're told that many people died in Sokovia, which of course makes sense with all the bloody explosions and the landmass being risen in the sky.
Yeah.
Or the Battle of New York. Like,
Mm-hmm.
when someone tells me nobody died during those events, I'm like, BS, bullshit. Come on.
Yeah.
But you don't see, heads being splattered or people being ripped in half. Not that I really want that in a Marvel movie, but if an invading force doesn't have to be alien, that's an invading force, enters your land and wants to occupy you during essentially a battle or wartime, people are going to get injured. People are going to die. It could be,
Yeah.
it's a sad reality of life, unfortunately. So,
Yeah.
so I like that. I also loved how he was training with his father, and like he's this eager kid that is really excited to like live up to a dad's legacy. And just the moment he gets power, he's trying to jump off his roof and thinking he will fall. And he doesn't. And then he cannot land because he does not know how to do that. And then he makes multiple plot holes in Uncharted. And his dad is explaining like it's a muscle, you have to move it correctly. It just felt logical, which you don't see or find in superhero media.
Yes. Yeah, I thought that was like, well, one of the funner things we're talking about was like, the idea of flying is, if you jump and you can fly, you're just gonna do it. But how do you turn and how do you land? How do you stop yourself from doing that? Or decelerate when you don't have anything to push off of. So yeah.
Exactly. Also, small, I didn't add it to the title, partly because after like 3 tries, I'm going live. I thought it copy the first title so we could get the air. But this is a spoiler discussion, so I'm normally asked this in between, and we kind of already said it because I said I loved this and you said you really loved this too, so we kind of got to set it away. But we both recommend this very much.
Yes.
But this is very much a spoiler-heavy discussion because this show ended a few weeks ago now.
Yes.
Yeah, like when was the last episode aired? It was, I think,
Well, it feels like a month ago.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we this ended like the week after Falcon Winter Soldier, I think, or even the same week, and then we were supposed to do Falcon Winter Soldier like 3 weeks ago, And my original plan was to do that like 2 weeks after it ended, so we could talk spoilers. And like 2 to 3 weeks after Invincible ended, which would be like a week after we did a Falcon and Winter Soldier podcast originally, then that'd be done with spoilers. And we moved all that back like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Because little newsflash, I just moved, so things been a little hectic. But I'm finally, as of with the podcast happening last week, in a calm third place again. And yeah, last episode aired on the 29th of April. So.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Nearly. So yeah. How do you think Mark's relationships with kind of his peers and his friends, especially, like he has his best friend that I actually found quite charming. I liked him. And then, you have this whole, a little bit of hint, a little love triangle with Adam Eve and Amber.
Yeah. Yeah. God, okay, I just blanked out. What was the question again?
No problem. What do you think of his relationships with his peers? Like how he had hiding his secret identity. He was very confused about who do I tell, and like I think the next part you want to talk about is Amber, so we can talk about their, how he handles his best friend, Adam Eve, Amber, and then we, and like what do you think of the love? What do you think of your relationships with all of them, and the love triangle that kind of develops between, him and Amber and Adam Eve?
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't even know if it's like full love triangle yet, but it's definitely going that way. And if you have gone deep into spoilers, you know what it turns into, if you have read the comics. But yeah, I definitely am. I think it's really cool is the fact that they didn't do what some stories that do that typically won't do, where one person is clearly a very bad choice, and the person is clearly the one they should go for, but they go with the bad choice first. I think it's interesting how they change it a bit. So they're both very good people. They're both very nice people. I honestly think Amber or Adam Eve would make great partners for Mark, but they don't make it just a clear dichotomy for the audience. They make it more of an actual. He has to work through the relationships to actually test the chemistry and see what fits and what doesn't, and actually like put in the work, which I think is really cool.
Agreed. It feels very human, and I think I've been talking a little too fast, so I'm gonna try to slow down. I think with I woke up really sick the other day, so my voice got kind of hit hard. And when I've been talking to a lot of people lately, so when that happens and my voice gets all weak, my nature gets speed up. So I can save energy for later, but then it's also harder to understand me. So I'm gonna try to talk slower, so I'm clearer. So, yeah. So, also, I will grab my Darth Vader mug and have water.
There you go.
The webcam, for some reason, OBS screwed everything up, so no cam today. But if it was on cam, I would gladly show my Vader mug to you all. I think this came in Loot Crate.
Nice.
Yeah. Got a Vader mug from them and a Carnage mug. So yeah. I really want an Admiral Akbar mug. That's just me. I know they have them. I know they exist.
Yeah.
But Mark's growth, I think, last you I'll say is from the beginning of not being a, my mind first went to arrogant, but that's not it. Naive to
Yeah.
because he was naive. Like he understood, I think, more than some people, many people his age, just by the nature of his family, of his father, you know. Like there's a little scene at the beginning of, seeing his dad on TV saving, people at the White House, and his mom is Debbie is like, well, who are they fighting this time? Kind of like
Hmm.
nonchalant. Okay, just he's, it's like, oh, he's in traffic. He'll be home a little late, whatever.
Yeah.
So, so he's aware of that. Like he's aware, I think, a little more than other people because, of course, it is his father that does that work.
Yes.
So I think there's a natural little worry there, but he also built that lifestyle so much, like up so much, that he really does not understand how do I manage a relationship with a significant other. Can
Yeah.
I go to school? Do I want to go to school, like for college?
Hmm.
How do I balance that? That see the monsters people can make from, like, sure, there's petty bank robbers or whatever, that's fine. But then you have very more complex people like the scientist,
Hmm.
or, seeing what these people do to normal people, like Mark's best friend who is in love with a guy and a guy would tragically experimenting on,
Hmm.
or seeing how Mark, seeing, there's one other event I was thinking of, and that was kind of I think there's the secrecy with Cecil, kind of the
Mm.
government operation superhero police, a little like S.H.I.E.L.D. in a way.
Yep.
But I I I think the biggest challenge for him is the relationships. So, like, what did you think of Amber specifically?
If I were I think she does bring a really nice kind of like base level human perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the whole thing is she isn't superpowered, but she still wants to help people, so she does that in the way she knows, which is outreach, and volunteerism, uh, stuff like that. So her kind of you know being that um, I guess image to contrast with Mark, who he does want to help people, but first got into it because he wanted to be superpowered like his dad. He actually has a little more selfish motivation because he just wants to live up to his dad's image, whereas Amber is purely altruistic, even though they both are, uh, morally good people trying to help people out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think that's kind of interesting that she's the one without powers, but that's where her alignment more so stands. And then also, um, uh, spoilery for later on when she ends up dumping Mark, you also get more looking into the fact that there, it's very clear that if you're a normal person living in this life, it would kind of suck for you, in this world,
Mm-hmm.
uh, where she knew that Mark was a superhero and was out saving people, but she also knew that he was lying to her and that all this different stuff was going on. Uh, but she probably didn't feel all that important, all that. She said she didn't feel all that important, all that. Like she really mattered in the grand scheme of things. Because when Mark would just run off and not tell her what was going on, or all sorts of stuff. And so, if you're a normal person, like one of us living in this world, that's kind of the thing is that we have to have some relationships that just suck because people are doing super stuff, and not to mention the constant threat of loss of life.
Yeah, it seemed a very common in the city.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you... I fully agree with everything you said. What do you think of Amber's response from the audience? Since there's been like the big backlash towards her. Which
I am
surprising.
unaware.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People like it's unfair that she's saying that she's not being... not giving enough time to her. She doesn't matter. Like I think everything he said is accurate, and I think, it brings up a good conversation of, like, it makes sense, Like, I don't think he wants him to stop saving people, of course not. But if you're in a relationship with anybody, it doesn't matter how busy you are or what you're doing. If you want to be in a relationship with them, you should pay attention to them and, work on the relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Give them the respect they deserve. If you were interested in them, and if you're not, then you should have been in a relationship, obviously. So, yeah, I think it was a good little, like, a good little demonstration of how both of their morals operate a bit with the first interaction with Amber, with the bully. And Mark.
Yeah.
There's nice. I honestly took an immediate liking to her. Well, actually, I was a tiny bit unsure at first, but I did take a liking to her, and I completely agree with her. So, I was surprised that she knew that Adam Eve. Like, I'm surprised she kind of knew Adam Eve, and I think she aware she was a superhero, but not exactly which one, I think, until she fully told her.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like with Adam Eve, she is honestly one of my favorites of the cast.
Yes.
She is carrying, moves her own damn beat. I would bet the angle very much, was I'm assuming from Thomas or Kirkman, on how she showcases a different form of hero work. You don't always have to be beating up bad guys, punching the robber in the face or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a little bit the same reason I kind of enjoy My Hero Academia with how they portray hero work a bit, where there's similar themes in both of, you could be a rescue hero, you can be, I don't know, specialize in space, you could actually focus on taking care of bad guys, you could be a scientist, key goal, if you are fighting people, is to try to evacuate as many civilians as you can before you actually fight. You don't really have that in many other things. Like MCU is kind of good. Animated stuff is normally horrible. That you'll just have, like, my mind goes to. My mind slightly goes to like Justice League, right? And much as I love those animated shows, and like there were certain examples where I'm like, okay, that kind of I understand why, but the end of that show of Unlimited, right? when you have
Yes.
Darkseid just invade a planet and they send like multiple fire teams out of heroes all over the globe to protect the world. You never think once, you're like, always like, we gotta take down Darkseid, we gotta take down the pure demons. You don't really, I remember hearing, we gotta evacuate all the civilians from the major cities. Very rare you hear that.
Yeah, I mean, in fiction, fiction in general, the action without consequences is sometimes just insane. But comic books and superhero stuff is kind of especially bad for it. We're supposed to have someone whose whole purpose is to, be the hero and save the little person. But they end up, but we also need to have big action set pieces to make it cool. So we end up creating these fights that don't really actually make sense with what their goal is. I mean, that was Superman, Man of Steel, like
Yeah,
in a nutshell.
yeah.
Um,
Another good example that just feels weird to me is actually from a limited data with Vitsin, which is funny. Since I talked about this hero today, she like saved a little boy in an apartment building, right? But like,
mhm.
your mind goes to that building is coming down. There's no way there's only one little boy in like an 84 apartment complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so still good shows growing up. And still good shows now. Still good stories in theirs. But um, but I appreciate how anime kind of decides that she wants to less fight people, or if she needs to, she will, of course, if the situation calls for it. But she tried to do a lot of charity work, a lot of rescue work, and makes a little home in a tree and
Hmm.
lives peacefully.
Yeah.
She's a nice little angel.
I think. Yeah. And I think anime is kind of the yeah that whole her whole take on. I think Kirkman. I mean, a lot of Invincible. Um, he wrote knowing tropes in comics,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean he's advising on this, but like Anime's character is also felt like a direct parody of classical superhero tropes, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
and that uh uh she's a female character, but she's not wearing like a super revealing kind of what the F suit or incredibly clunky armor. It's just kind of something she designed herself that looks like a biker outfit, like bicyclist. If you're doing a Tour de France or whatever, um, and um, and she decides to give up traditional superheroing instead to focus on the little person, knowing that there's just so much lost life that can happen in the big events that she's like, oh, I'm just going to save people in a way that's way more practical.
And I love it. What do you
Hmm.
think? Our next person on our list, we're going to talk about robot. Before we get to him, I think the good transition is let's talk about anime's team. You know,
Mm,
um,
yeah.
I'd like not to name them though. Not, and not Fight Force. I know I
And
made fun of Fight Force multiple times,
no,
but
I think it was Teen Team.
right. The names of the teams, by the way, kind of make me smile.
Yeah,
I find them a little silly, I will admit. But
yeah.
team, team. Yeah, and you have Anime. You have Red's Blood, which Red's Blood allows him to kind of like Gambit, charge up immaterial objects and explode them. Duplicate Girl, or what the name of her hero title? Do you remember?
Duplicate.
Duplicate, right? That you can make a copy of. Is there a limit to her copies, like the clones you can make? That it seems
I
you can
don't
like make three of
know.
them or two of them.
Yeah, I've only ever seen up to like 3 or 4 on screen at a time.
Yeah. So let's remember that at the moment. And then you have Robot, which we will talk more about later. But I like kind of how we're introduced to this team and how Mark kind of finds Adam, Eve, and a team, and she realizes that they go to the same school. She brings them over. Half of them are kind of jerks to Mark at first, but they open up to him. And yeah, and then her team leaves, and it helped showcase to me just how independent she is and important she is. But what do you think of her not really joining their kind of version of the Justice League when they were offered the job? We can say it like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it made sense, just kind of based off of what we were already talking about, where at the time she was, whereas Mark was perhaps too enamored with the idea of being a hero that made him naive, she was starting to fall out of love with the idea and made her almost a little bitter with everything, but just see more that that wasn't what she wanted to do. She wanted to, help people in a more practical way that had less collateral damage. So it made sense for her to kind of go off on her own at that point because if she stayed with when they became the New Guardians, it would have just, I feel, made her more bitter and more angry with the whole reality of, having these super battles in the middle of populated areas where you're going to end up seeing a lot of people die, but you can't like protect them, and then also being so close to someone who treated you so poorly is not great. So it made total sense for me.
Agreed. Agreed. Um, you mentioned the Global Guardians. I see let's talk about them and then go to Robot. They were kind of the first shot we see the show, really, or one of the firsts. And that actually what immediately hooked me in the show is that they were, like they said, they cared about collateral damage.
Mm-hmm.
And that immediately made me interested, like, okay, how are they going to portray a superheroics? But I did not expect the end of the episode to go as it did.
Yeah.
Which you were familiar with the comics before this, I'm aware of, right?
A bit, yeah.
So I'm assuming did you expect that to happen so soon, though, or?
No.
And that was violent.
Yeah.
That was a real violent mess.
Mm-hmm. And I remember my mother telling me after we watched it that she was like, well, I thought it was a superhero show. I'm like, oh, yes, but.
It also Robert Kirkman.
Yep.
One thing I love about it is just that they were all played by Walking Dead veterans.
Mm-hmm.
The thing Kirkman does in the first episode that they're in the show is to kill them all off.
Yep.
I find it funny. I'm sorry. It's gonna be funny. Like the character died in such brutal ways and bloody ways.
Mm-hmm.
And for Pete's sake, yeah. What's that?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I'm still a little bit sick, but I'm holding it well. Apologies, everyone. Yep, I 30-second break.
Sure.
Apologies for that. Had a little cough. Like I said, still a little sick, but I'm okay. So no, Adam. I think we said everything about Adam Eve. So,
Mm.
how about and and kind of the global guardians? I'll just say, what did you? I'll say it like this. What did you think of the portrayals of the global guardians, and then how they represented the world without their heroes? And I think that's a good tangent to go into Robot.
Mm.
Like, how what do you
So
think?
yeah, I thought I would say that is really funny how essentially it was like very clearly the Justice League, but not. Uh, and yeah, the way they played into that, leading into the end of that episode. But just the fact that like, oh yeah, it's very clear you have all these very super powered people from all around the world, so of course they're the go-to team. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I also liked how they were essentially uh were international in a way, so like kind of showing that like the idea that maybe we'll finally unite people is just insane extraterrestrial or existential threats. Um, but yeah, I thought it was just very. I mean, obviously it's Kirkman, so it's a joke without being a joke. Um, but I thought the way they translated that to show was very well done, even if it felt short lived.
Agreed. And as a DC animated film did a little callback to Invincible, or not to it, with
Hmm.
remember Red Rush at a picnic scene?
Yep.
Yeah, the opening of the Justice Society of America animated film that came out about a few weeks ago, right?
Hmm.
Opens with the same thing with
Huh.
Barry Allen. So,
That's funny.
yeah, in that film, basically, Invincible started with the team already being a team and them dying in the first episode. Um, in in a JSA film, it's like some crazy time travel story where Barry goes back in time to Wonder Woman at a JSA, and then he ends it with like he met Superman the first time that day, which is why he went back. And he just asks Clark like, "What do you think of making a team?"
Mm.
That is kind of like the birth or the first seed planted into Justice League of the new DC animated continuity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the Global Guardians are dead. They need new heroes to like new face of heroism in a world. They need to do essentially Justice League. So they grab Team, multiple members, and the head of their shield, if you want to say it like that, Cecil, which we'll talk about later, um, as this one member named Robot to basically hold tryouts and make new Global Guardians. And I loved Robot for the whole show.
Yes.
I think he's my favorite out of everybody, just on personality. I'm not saying most developed character, even though there's a lot there with Robot, but I loved the personality so much. He's great.
Yes. Yeah. I mean the fact that they well they do a lot with the robot to play
They
around with
do.
them, but yeah. But yeah, his personality and the fact that there's a lot of snark, and you can tell that there is some humanity in him. I mean, which obviously leads him to his big reveal.
Yep.
But yeah, but also his like the raw calculation. I feel like that always makes for a fun character trope if you can mess around with it right, which I think they did. Where it's it's a weird teen. Oh Lord, I don't even know how to talk about.
He's a complex character.
It's a yeah. I mean, it's a not teenage love story with Ender from Ender's Game meets the the Man in the Mask. I mean, uh, there's a lot to go into it, but
Yeah.
the it's a lot of tropes and pastiche. So he feels as if he comes up without tropes or pastiche, which is the goal of writing. And the at least I'm being very charismatic because there's lots of little things to pull on or little strings being tugged on that they don't really over explain too much. They are very true to like show don't tell, and he ends up revealing things as you go on. But you can definitely tell that there's a bunch of always more things tugging at Robot in each scene that you can actually see.
Yeah. And it was a bit of a mystery with him if you don't know the character because, like, you see him working with sketchy folks, you can call them. But you don't know what he's planning. He starts to seem to have feelings for Monster Girl, but that relationship feels a little weird at times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you think his relationship with his other team members, like Adam Eve, Black Samson, the Street King Girl, Duplicate, Resplode.
Yeah.
Resplode's relationship with him is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think it's really interesting how he's very real in that he has little bits that connect other people, but then a lot of bits that don't really connect other people. So it's very clear that even though the members of the team don't necessarily know where they stand in relation to Robot, although I do like kind of the joint leadership they do shares with Black Samson. But yeah, I mean, his relationship with Rex, the weird body snatching is funny. But but I think it's interesting how Robot also has kind of selfish intentions, and you can see how that kind of will break or do weird stuff to his relationships to other members of the team. But again, he's overall a good person, so he does everything he can to protect members of that team as well, or to support them in whatever they're doing. So you end up getting this kind of weird mixture of things where some things fly, some things don't, and so you get this very natural, uneasy relationship. I would say with the members team where they question him on some things, but like they entirely trust each other on other things, and I think that's really fun.
Great. One thing I actually really enjoyed about Robot that I don't think we mentioned is I think he has a more unique view on hero work than many other characters. Where I'm not sure exactly he wants to fight bad guys, but I think he feels it'd be irresponsible not to.
Mm-hmm.
And like what they got made when Nolan showed up to save him originally, that's a little hard to tell because he's in a robotic body. so it's hard to tell expressions. But he does not seem super excited Nolan is there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's, yes, you know what, he comes off to me a lot like Bruce.
Oh yeah,
If I really think about
I
it, he
can
comes
definitely
off
see.
like Bruce.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah, because like you said, people do not know exactly what he's done, but they call him his friend, they trust him. But also, Robot is kind of like optimistic, I would say a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but also very cautious
Yeah.
in my mind, you know? Like, I think it a few times, like, you'll say probabilities of, like, this is not going to be the way it is, but I hope it's not like that. And I hope we can do
Mm-hmm.
it. So, I would call him a played out narcissist. You know,
Right.
he's a very complex individual, which I really enjoy. Um, we were going to add a few little small characters mentioned. So how about we mention just for a few moments that the Mueller twins. What are Mueller
Oh,
twins?
the Mahler twins.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Mueller
Yes,
twins. Thank you.
I love them.
Yeah.
I especially love that they also had a theme song provided by Run the Jewels. That was super cool. Um, but yeah, I think they're also just a very fun take on the idea of the cloned villain or like the science villain, where normally like your researcher type individual ends up looking like more like the scientist in the college episode, or uh, if they do end up becoming more of a physical threat, then it's like, kind of like Doc Ock.
Yeah.
Um, uh, or I guess like crap, what's the Hulk's nemesis?
The leader.
I mean, the guy who Hulk has to fight a lot.
There's buns like
The weird
Abomination.
I, Abomination, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So where they becoming like too mutated beyond the point of being recognizable, but to have them where like there's slight genetic modifications to them, but they're just genuinely strong people.
Yeah.
uh, and they supplement that with on the fly tech and also being super smart, but also not very wise. Uh,
Yeah.
so
It,
I think it's a really fun mix of like it almost feels like a D&D character where you dump all your stats into intellect and strength and then don't touch anything else. Um,
it,
but uh, I feel like that they play out very well, and also their role in terms of um uh wanting their own things, but always end up accidentally being used by someone else.
yeah. That
Yeah.
makes sense. And it kind of like use the Hulk visits. It honestly it makes me think they're like a mix of the leader and Abomination fused into one being.
Mm,
Like traits from both of them. But I like your D&D analogy a lot.
yeah.
And I liked also that they just were finally taken down pretty, not gonna say super easily, but after all the chaos they've been through with fighting the Global Guardians and Robot, they were just like, okay, there's like 20 guns around us.
Yeah.
We surrender. We're done with
Yes.
this. We're tired. But was Cecil there when he arrested them, or was it just his men?
I think it's just as been.
I think so too. Cecil was busy dealing with a global threat. So,
Yes.
actually, right before I do that, since I kind of really want to mention this one character, right? Before we kind of start
Mm-hmm.
up the end of the show a bit. But what did you think of? And Blade got to die. He's a rock. He's a rock man. Criminal rock dude.
Oh yeah. Crap, I forgot his name. But yes, the guy who ended up and essentially enlisting Mark's help to take down Machine Head.
Yes, I love. He
Yeah.
was my favorite villain.
Mm-hmm.
Rock guy. I can't Steven you. I want to put it rock guy. Okay, that makes no sense to me. But okay. His name is Titan, by the way.
Titan, yes.
Titan. I loved kind of the angles with him of how he would try to he would kill people, but he would only kill who he needs to for the job, and try to do charity work when he could help it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not surprised he took over, but he did get me that he definitely wanted to do, I think, better business and not as violent.
Yeah.
Like, I honestly, genuinely believe he did not like the amount of, like, senseless violence and lives he was taking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But oh, he's great. I watched the, between, like, the two villains, and we also have the crazy doctor that Mount Rushmore.
Yes. Yeah.
Which one do you enjoy the
I mean,
most? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
he hasn't really contributed a whole lot. I feel like we had a little bit more out of Machine Head just because he led into Titan storyline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And Machine Head. Machine Head, I also
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed his, yeah. That's, the villains
Yeah.
I found all very interesting and different and colorful. Yeah.
Yeah.
The first villain, that's a small villain section, then we go back to our main characters. But the original villain Mark fights honestly reminds me of like the C or D tier supervillain from
Mm-hmm.
DC Comics or Marvel. And I'm blank out the name of both of the characters I'm thinking of. Let's just swallow that. If I can think of it later, I might post it somewhere. But let's talk about Cecil. So, the
Yes.
Guardian. Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt. I'm trying to work on this.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, global guardians are dead. They are somehow killed. There's evidence that Nolan's father was there. Well, Nolan's father was also there, but somehow survived and was full of blood.
Mm-hmm.
Cecil gets very suspicious, which was uncomfortable for him because this is his one of his oldest friends in a superhero community. And basically, there's Superman. So to think that there's Superman called Omni-Man could have done such a terrible thing, like murder their Justice League, was a very serious thing. So how
Yeah.
did you like Cecil when you first met him, and how do you feel he approached the whole investigation into Nolan?
I feel like I liked Cecil more as the series went on. It took a while to warm up to him because he came off version like, oh, he might be a little sinister, but eventually ended up becoming more of someone you actually thought was cool, I guess. There the jeez. But I feel like he definitely did not handle the investigation all that well, even though he is He seems like he has the logistics and the
Manpower.
like manpower and like the combat side of things down, but like the actual investigation, he instead of onboarding the like investigator who is actually finding the most stuff out, he sends him to hell.
That is.
So there's that.
That might have been a small mistake.
Yeah. But besides that, he also doesn't seem all that confident knowing how he wanted to resolve investigation. Is more so just kind of waiting for something to happen and trying to run with it rather than actually having a plan on actually how to nab Omni-Man. Or I mean, they're doing stuff with the alien blood in the basement, but they never really got more of that
Yeah.
or to see like if they had managed to develop something. Yeah.
I don't think they did not have enough time, but
Yeah.
no, I agree with you. I think when I first saw Cecil and his organization, they kind of came off almost like a pure military black ops group for a few moments there.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't sure if they were on the right side of the law either. Right now, just today, when I think of them and his little buddy, I actually think of the Reskull and Zola.
Interesting. Yeah.
Because I was watching first Captain America First Adventure the other day.
Sure.
But I liked them, I think, sooner because I was curious what you were going to do. And I can understand his reason not wanting to go full guns blazing right away. Like, that makes sense. But setting Dark Blood to hell did feel like a mistake. There's a better way you could have handled that.
Yeah.
I think it still made sense because I think they were communicated somewhat. I think they were communicated well enough that Cecil was really terrified of the idea that Nolan has gone rogue.
Yeah.
Like he was terrified of that thought. And knowing he cannot control Dark Blood, it made sense a little, but there could have been, I guarantee there could have been 5 other ways you could have handled that better at least.
Yeah.
But, yeah. What do you think of the organization and kind of, not how they operate, kind of cover that, but like the other people we've met, like his friend, his sidekick, his partner.
Yeah. Randy.
Yeah, Randy.
Yeah. I thought he was also kind of fun in that he's just he just seems like a guy there trying to make a living. He's doing the best he can. He seems to actually genuinely care about Nolan's family. And the the way he goes out too was also pretty fantastic. But I liked uh, the fact that he didn't seem to match the stereotype of super secret black ops. He was there because he was good looking into things, I guess, and needed work.
Agreed. The way he went out, though. What? Sorry, I'm getting my voice getting a little shorter, so
Okay.
Got a little water for a sec.
Sure.
So. Cecil, I think, and Randy also does cared very much about Nolan's family.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt there was a hint, I can't remember if especially explicitly said it, that there's some history between Cecil and Debbie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is a good way to talk, like enter Debbie and Nolan, that her final two characters we're talking about. And we confirm Mark in there as well again, because of course, you know, he's the protagonist. Um, Debbie, I liked off the bat immediately, but what really won me with her, not that I really needed to have that, like I thought it was Cecil, but it is when Mark is trying to land and keeps on making little holes in the garden. And she does sit down with him and has a real talk, saying, you know, you can still talk to me, of course. I'm not a
Yeah.
superhero, I don't have powers, but I'm still your mom.
Yeah.
How do you feel about when you first met Debbie and her not really believing that Nola is even capable of doing something, you know, awful, and, you know, says her evolution through, you know, this is someone I've been married to for over 20 years, almost, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and, oh, he lied to me. He actually might have killed our friends, you know.
Yeah. I feel like she actually had a pretty natural progression. I thought was cool. And the way that say I felt like her character story is perhaps the most compelling out of anyone's. Just the way it dealt with her trying to come to grips with everything, as well as doing her own investigation, and her not being able to go out and fight monsters head on. I feel like almost made her the most. Well, it did make her the most relatable of the family. But just the way that she spent each episode either unpackaging part of what ends up being, you know, this realization, or trying to track down something new.
Yep.
And that was very interesting in contrast to, you know, the normal superhero action around it.
Agreed. And I think Debbie's the only one that could have honestly gathered all of the evidence compared to anyone
Mm-hmm.
else. Because even with Cecil's immense resources, well, we both agree he could have handled the investigation much better. There is logical concern of like if I make any public move or any move that Nolan can notice, he will not hesitate possibly to wipe me off the face of the planet in an
Mm-hmm.
instance. You
Yeah.
know, same with Dark Blood, but Debbie, despite some mean and you know rude things Nolan said about his wife, you know, that's the show. There is still a part of Nolan that deeply cares for Debbie, I believe.
Yeah.
Which is why when like, I think pretty, he had a clear idea of what was going on a bit, of what she was looking into, you know.
Mm-hmm.
and his first reaction was not, okay, I'm going to pound your face in and murder you.
Yeah.
You know, unlike when like the squad of, the Cecil's organization came to arrest Nolan, he just started to slice them up like no tomorrow. So it was,
Yeah.
yeah, and I don't want to say it like that. That was a little too bloody. He did not have hesitation in killing them. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah. Um, what what do you think of her relationship with Mark? With him seeing him being all bloody and injured after that horrible, like a few horrible fights, or believing in her, or still having faith her son will do the right thing.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, that was a little confusing. Sorry. Um, what do you think of Debbie seeing her son become a superhero and getting injured? Like, how do you think she handles that?
Uh, yeah, I think her relationship to Mark as being a superhero was really interesting. Something we didn't see like in other. I mean, most of the superheroes, their parents are dead. Um, but for this one to have, Debbie spent her adult life dating and then marrying Nolan, so she was used to like superhero stuff and like, but he at that point Nolan was already pretty much the unkillable.
Yep.
But to have Mark to be doing the same stuff and then to come back super bloodied. I mean, even if knowing your son is a half alien super being, that's got to be very traumatic. Uh, and I thought they did that very well. Showing her being with Mark, but then also like understanding why he wanted to go back out, even if she wasn't necessarily fully agreeing with it. And then as Mark made more choices in his superhero career, her guidance on that is trying to um, be the voice of the caring mother, doing what you can to help the little guy, but also that she's concerned. um, yeah, yeah. I just thought her relationship with Mark is very well done in that it actually showed how mother would react to having a son involved in the most dangerous line of work imaginable on that existence of Earth. Yeah.
Agreed. Agreed. And then the only thing I think I'd add with about the two of them is that she did not have, she did not lose any faith that her son would do the right thing. She was
Hmm.
just scared that he would get injured
Yeah.
by being near Nolan after knowing what he did.
Oh yeah, with that. I mean, I was thinking more with the fight, the start where he comes back from the alien fight and is completely bloodied.
Oh no, no, I was thinking that too.
But yeah, her fight at the end, watching Mark and Nolan fight, and just I mean, one, she's mortified, but
Yeah.
even though Cecil isn't necessarily super ready to trust Mark because there's two separate aliens and one of them is already trying to destroy everything.
Yeah.
So the mom show character and knowing like, no, I know my son apparently more than my husband. I thought that was also very cool and like a strong moment for Debbie.
Agreed. Uh, kind of off on a tangent for a moment. It's a little uh, off point, but what do you think for a sec of Robot and his new global guardian to the globe not helping Mark when he was fighting Nolan?
I mean, I feel like they kind of pointed out as that, yeah, like, or yeah, they didn't have all the information going in, so like until they couldn't know what's happening until the very end, where when Nolan got very hostile, and they're like, oh, that super outclasses any of us. So I feel like this is a smart tactical decision because I feel like if any one of them got involved, they would have died instantly.
Yeah. So this is says that Mark had to be alone.
Hmm.
But I do agree with you. If any of them went into the combat area, they would have been immediately killed.
Yeah.
Except for the immortal,
Mm.
even though he did die then. But he
Yes.
had a small
Yeah.
chance. Before Nolan, I just mentioned him, but the immortal, I will admit, the original Guardians of the Globe here is one of my least favorites,
Interesting.
personally. Just be, I didn't hate him in any regard at all, though. It just, like, he seemed to have not an attitude issue, just there's something there that rubbed me a little wrong way. But I liked him. He is supposed to be, I get the Superman analogy for their league.
Hmm.
Also kind of remind me of the Atom a little bit, the original one. But him coming back, I did not fully expect. I kind of wish he stayed around. Because I would have been really curious to see how he would have reacted to, all of his friends being dead and the world being different. But it was a good fight still.
Yeah.
A good, I don't know, bonus fight. But no, no, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah.
Nolan. Oh boy. Funny enough, I hadn't heard of Omni-Man, I think like 8 years ago. Before I even knew what Invincible was, okay?
Huh.
Because they're the YouTuber I used to listen to. They called like the Mount Vernon Kid. And he did like obscure covers sometimes or whatnot, right? Kind of slightly inspired me to do this. Because I thought about what I enjoyed listening to many years ago. I did like some episode on like a Superman copycats, right?
Right.
And you had like, of course, you had. I don't think you had like Red Sun, Kingdom Come. It's just like actual. So you had, like Blue Marvel, Century, Gladiator, multiple others. I think Omni-Man was there too.
Mm.
So yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
So I think that's where I first learned about him. But I liked him when I first saw him. I think J.K. Simmons voiced him, right?
Yes. Which is super good casting.
So good. So we didn't even mention any of the names of the actors for the lead roles, but they were all amazing. I think they were. It was an amazing cast.
Yeah.
But a thought occurred to me last night, by the way, of what do you think of J.K. Simmons, at least in the superhero community, like being known, right? And like one of its most famous roles being J.J. Jameson, a character that hates heroes, and now he's basically the Superman of.
Yeah, I thought this Yes. I mean, that's definitely really funny. But I definitely think it's more just. I almost wonder if like that wasn't even like a consideration when it got cast. I feel like it was maybe just uh like knowing exactly the character, the actor they need or voice they needed for the archetype. But
Oh,
I can't imagine that that was brought up at some point during.
I,
But also like yeah, it's just I haven't seen too many memes about it yet, but I'm waiting for a lot more. Well, I have seen one actually, where he's
yeah.
just J. Jonah Jameson picking up the Omni Man suit.
That,
But
well, I saw that too. There's been a lot of memes about that final scene with Nolan and Mark.
yes,
So
yeah,
many. There's a great one with J.J. Jameson and Peter Parker. Yep. So,
that's funny.
I, uh, but no, I like Nolan. I was surprised of his turn. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Uh, yeah, it was definitely very early.
Oh, very
From what I
early.
was considering. Yeah, but yeah, I think they sold it really well, and they did a good job of maybe even Nolan not knowing what was going on, and trying to get that line going where there's they did a lot. They did really well at trying to add as many questions into the what seemed to be a very open or very yeah wide and in the open early reveal. But then they threw enough red herrings in there that he almost kind of wondered like what if there's more going on, and then they just double down and then like no this is the true. I thought that was very fun.
And I heard, do you think Nolan deep down somewhere, right, as he did make friends with humanity or humans,
Hmm.
like he described his wife as a pet, which is pretty bad.
Yeah.
But like, I'm
Yeah.
there's still a few moments like I'm not sure what Cecil, but like his costume maker, you know,
Hmm. Yeah.
like at least they made real connections with Nolan. I'm not sure if he did with them, but
Yeah. I mean, maybe. I feel like it's a different. Maybe I don't feel like it wasn't enough for him to justify, uh, ending the rest of the human race. But I feel like I feel like what really made the end of the series as impactful as it was the fact that he was willing to kill just about every other human, but uh, it, I mean, his son is still his son, so his dedication to the cause wavers at that point. I think that's what really made the fact that leading into his conversation with Alan or Mark's conversation with Alan, where
mm,
he's like, "Viltrumites never retreat." I think that's uh, really kind of draws the fact that it's in a family story, and that really kind of draws it back to the fact that it is, a conflict between Nolan and his son Mark.
yeah. One of the best family stories in superhero media I've seen in a very long time, in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I truly adored this.
yeah.
And yeah, I'd say like we could talk more about Nolan, but I don't want to see too many details because I don't want to like yeah, it's a spoiler discussion, which I now realize I did not put the name spoiler in the title, which I will edit right after we end. But
Hmm.
I don't want to share too many. Like I like how we're telling a bit of what we like, right? But we're not going
Yeah.
very deep with each because you don't want that. You want to just
Hmm.
watch because it's so good.
Yeah.
Like us describing it does not do it anywhere near justice of
No.
how great the show is. Um, but yeah, let's go to Alan because so like Nolan retreats, Alan comes back. We met him before because they were kind of Mark having to test, see if he could do a space mission on his own. And
Hmm.
he tell us, Alan, like this is Earth. This is not where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
I love that little discussion with Alan. And then he comes back later, and Mark tells him the whole story for the season. And he's like, wow.
Yeah.
Sorry about your dad, man. It was a nice way to close off the show, I must admit, for the season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It gets me excited for what the next season will be like.
Yes. I am, yeah. It's really hard. I mean,
Without spoiling stuff.
talk about, well, yeah, well, it's still out. I mean, I'm waiting for that, and the next season of Expanse is very killer.
Are you surprised that the show got 2 seasons? Or like it got a second season ordered right after the first episode aired, I think, and it got a third season ordered. I'm surprised they ordered 2 seasons already, 2 more seasons already. Like we're praising.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
It's definitely wild for it to be like a non-Marvel or DC title to be so successful.
Yeah.
I mean, Amazon already had success with The Boys, so now they're really kind of hitting it out mark with this.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's I think it's just cool to see that a indie title is still good enough or carries enough weight to get major runtime.
I agree. Do you think this will inspire more indie titles from comics or whatnot to either get their own show or maybe a movie even?
I'd hope so. I'm not sure, but I'd hope so.
Same here. Since I know I can't name them off the top of my head, but I know there are a few indie books or titles that like they want to make a movie for, but so I guess last was just where do you think this fits in the superhero genre with television? And it kind of say movies too. And before you answer, like I'll just name what we have, you know. Of course, we have the MCU films and the shows, right? Basically, WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, or Captain America and Winter Soldier. We have The Boys, you know, animated stuff like Young Justice. It's now continuing. We have stuff in the past like Smallville or Heroes, or you know the DCAU, Static Shock, Justice League, Superman animated series, Batman animated series, Batman Beyond. There's one more very big one. I'm trying to remember. Not a big one, but Green Lantern animated series, Batman Brave and the Bold. And then you also have the CW stuff, Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, recently Stargirl and Superman and Lois, a few years ago Black Lightning, Batwoman, and recently Netflix released Jupiter Legacy.
Yeah.
So like, there's a lot of superhero media the past, 2 decades, but especially a lot the past 10 years, where like, yet this resonates so, I think, so differently compared to a lot of the other stuff I named, and that's a lot of stuff, you know. Do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it hits a lot of the same points, and like now that things that we now are coming to expect in comics, visual entertainment type stuff, but it hits it in such a different way I mean, that's kind of the same thing we saw with Logan when it came out. The fact that it was, what you expect out of a superhero movie and more. The fact that it felt like a Western. This one feels like a superhero show, but also a family drama.
Yeah.
And it's executed so well that, it's. And now Jupiter's Legacy comes in after that, and a lot of people are saying it falls flat because, you have Invincible coming out right before this, and this doesn't seem to translate as well. So I
Yeah.
definitely feel like it hit the niche and is kind of locked it in as being, you know, what you'd want to see out of a
Superhero family
superhero drama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. Also, I left out Spider-Man animated series, Spectacular Spider-Man, which is great. Avengers, Spider Zero was a great. Then Avengers Ultimate Spider-Man. Um, the Avengers '90s show. Have you ever seen that?
I have not.
That is something. It's on Disney Plus. You can watch it if you want. Uh, and then, of course, the X-Men animated series from the '90s and Spider-Man animated series from the '90s. And then a bunch of other Spider-Man stuff like Amazing Friends and the Spider-Man 67 show, which I still remember watching at my grandma's house every summer growing up when I was little in Vancouver.
Nice.
Good memories. Yeah, so. Yeah. And my dad loved Spider-Man growing up, so we would watch together when I was little. I wish that show was on Disney Plus so much. But I don't think, I have no idea who had owns the rights to the 67 Spider-Man animated stuff. Someone must
I don't know.
it, but
Yeah.
I guess Sony, but I'm not sure if that's right.
Right.
I have no idea. I did find old 50s Superman animated stuff though.
Wow.
On a new streaming service called Tubi. That I will start using some of the stuff from there to use on a podcast. But I think that's it.
Huh.
What? What do you find?
Well, I think the rights to 67 would have come back to Disney because it was originally an ABC thing.
Ah, maybe it will be out of the Disney Plus at some point then.
Yeah.
They still have a whole bunch of stuff from their vault that they have not even used yet. Like, I really want to see Fillmore on Disney Plus. Which also was made by one of the successful showrunners for The Walking Dead. Which I learned about recently. So.
Huh.
Yeah. Who'd have think like a police drama about hall monitors. The creator of that became a successful showrunner for The Walking Dead. For like the Negan era. So.
It's, yeah.
That
Huh.
But damn.
Yeah.
Success is success. Is there any character we forgot to mention or we wanted to go into that we've kind of neglected, you think? Or
I think we covered most of it.
yeah. Do you like Explode? That's just one opener question to throw out there.
Yeah. I mean, he
Dodged him a bit.
Yeah, he's kind of a butthole.
Yes.
But I guess that means he's a strong character. They got the reaction they wanted out of him.
Fair.
But the way they we just see how what more they do with him going into the second season. I feel like they started to see some growth after what he did. That really made you hate him. So I feel like there's been some growth. I'm interested to see what that looks like, down the road.
Yeah. I agree with you. And did you like Alan? That's the last we kind of. I never asked you that. Did you like Alan, the alien?
Yes.
Me too.
Yeah, I thought It's very funny. Yeah.
I think there'll be more to talk about in this season, which I bet we'll cover, or at least the podcast cover.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, we were originally actually expecting this to run for 2 hours, and we kind of been on a mic for over that, but we also started 30 minutes later because of YouTube issues. So we actually clocked it a half hour earlier. Sweet.
Same.
Yeah. And well, since it'll be on YouTube, it seems to be automatically posted right after we're off the air. I made it public so people can watch it. So, yeah. And we'll be back next week, and we'll be at 3 p.m. Next time. Just, I will admit, I ran tests last night, but I got a little confused with how to stream on YouTube still. So,
Fair.
yeah. And the plan just to put out there is that we're going to do it 3 p.m. Saturdays, Pacific Standard, really. And that is really just how it's going to go. And any other streams in a week, if they ever happen, will most likely not be a podcast thing. Or I might title it podcast, but it might just be like some new news came out, you know? And I just want to have like a 10-minute blurb about it. You know, first impressions, first thoughts on something, you know? Like, for example, DC is releasing an Injustice movie, which actually is a little topical considering we have evil Superman story.
Yes.
Actually, you know what? But before I go off air, this is a perfect last question, I think, okay? Did you ever at all feel during the story, right, that you wish it was not another evil Superman story?
No, I didn't think it didn't make me think that at all.
Me too. I never thought that once, but I thought it was worth throwing out there. So, all right, all. Thank you for the lyrics, for the views, for the support. I'm excited for this new journey. Everyone, you can all listen to this later, of course. And a new video will be up next week. Anything you want to say to the audience before we go, Tim? Or also feel free to share your contact information, you know, who you are again, so people can find you later.
Yeah. My Twitch is linked in the comments, but just look out for Wolf Hunter coming out through Silverline Comics later this year.
Sweet. All right. Last words. Just peace out and have a wonderful weekend all. Bye-bye.